This incident happened to me just last night, on the night of Halloween. I live in a small town in southern Minnesota. I have a hobby which some people might find weird. I like to walk in the woods at night and make survival shelters, and sometimes when I can't sleep, that's what I do. We have a lot of woody areas over here, so finding a place for my hobby isn't that difficult for me. The biggest one is about 30 minutes away by car, and it's about the size of 1,000 acres. I'm a 6'2" guy with a strong build, so being alone in the middle of the woods at night doesn't really scare me. So I had been talking to this girl for a while, and last night we finally planned our first date, which is today. Because of the excitement, I couldn't fall asleep last night, so I decided to do what I love most and go for a walk in the woods. Whenever I go on late night walks by myself, I always bring a knife with me, just in case something bad happens. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself, and it's always better to be prepared with a weapon. So I put my pocket knife in my pocket, put on my shoes and left the house. It was a quiet night, not many people in sight. The closer I got to the woods, the quieter it got. When I finally entered the woods, it got dead silent. Something felt off. It was a bit too quiet. There were no sounds of leaves falling or wind or anything. It was dead silent. I could hear my own breath. As much as this creeped me out, I didn't want to be a coward and turn back just because it was too quiet for my liking. So I just kept on walking deeper into the woods. At this particular moment, I heard some birds in the distance, which made me feel a bit easier. I kept on walking forward, but a bit slower than before, and I also kept my hand on my pocket knife, just in case I needed to react quickly. About a minute later, I saw some quick movement off to my left. Whatever it was big enough for me to pull out my knife and aim it towards the direction the noise came from. The only thing I could see was trees and branches. I don't know what it was. I remembered a sentence that I had heard in the past. Most things leave you alone if you leave them alone. So I kept my knife in my hand and kept on walking. I kept on walking further, and eventually I reached some higher ground. From this place, you can overlook the woods behind you. I decided to turn around and look at the place where I saw the movement before. To my horror, there was a tall black creature standing over there. I got a good look at it. It did not look human at all. It must have been at least 10 feet tall. For some reason, I could feel that it was looking straight back at me. I felt my heartbeat increase because of the severity of the situation. I realized that I was in a bad situation and needed to get out of there as soon as possible. At this point, it was still weirdly quiet, and there was no sound other than the leaves crunching and branches breaking underneath my feet. At this very moment, I heard loud thud sounds off to my right. I couldn't see what was making that sound. In a panic, I dropped my knife and backpack and started running away. About 10 seconds later, I heard a screech I'd never heard before in my life. I looked back and saw 3 of those tall black creatures standing side by side in the distance, just staring at me. I kept on running and didn't look backwards once. I finally made it back to the main road and then back to my house. Needless to say, I couldn't fall asleep and was paranoid the entire night. To this very moment, I still don't know what I witnessed. Maybe it was just some kind of messed up Halloween prank, or maybe it was something I was never meant to see. I'm not sure. I was 17 at the time of this incident. I used to be a typical trouble-causing teenager who loved breaking rules together with my friends. Halloween was coming up, and there wasn't much to do in our town. So me and my friends decided to break into some abandoned buildings at night and just explore. There was this one particular spot we had been keeping an eye on. It was an old abandoned factory on the quieter part of town. It was finally Halloween night, and me and my friends all got together. We walked alongside the main road and jumped over the fence into the bushes. We made sure no one saw us before doing so, as it could get us in a lot of trouble. We kept our heads low and entered the building through a broken window. Instantly upon entering the building, we noticed a horrible smell. Everyone called out how bad it smelled in there, and we all agreed. Being the young, energetic teenagers, We weren't going to let some bad smell stop us from having fun on Halloween night, so we decided to keep exploring further. We kept on entering different rooms, exploring different floors, reading left-behind papers and throwing around old furniture. Looking back, we were being way too loud, and we're lucky we didn't get caught. As we were exploring, out of nowhere we started hearing loud bangs and almost whimper-like sounds from inside the building. We all instantly got quiet so we could listen where it was coming from. We decided to follow the sound as a group to see who or what was causing that sound. A stupid move, I know. The sound was coming from one of the rooms in one of the hallways. We all walked up to that room and took a look inside. There was a homeless man laying on the ground softly crying. His legs were all ripped open and blood was gushing out. We immediately tried to help him, and he kept asking us if it's gone or if it is still around. We immediately called 911. I took off my belt and tied it around his legs to slow down the bleeding. His legs looked like they went through a meat grinder is all I could describe it as. To save some time, we decided to carry him out of the building so that the rescue team didn't have to waste valuable time finding the right room in that abandoned factory. In the panic and the struggle of carrying this big guy, I happened to look behind us, and to my horror, I saw a black, hairy creature standing at one of the windows looking at us. He had blood all over his face and chest area. It looked way too similar to a bear, but the weird part is that we don't have bears in our area. Still to this day, we don't know what happened to that guy. We don't know if he survived or not, and what he encountered that day. The police never gave us any updates. If he's still alive somewhere out there, I hope he's doing fine.